several months later. Hold on. This is definitely the freaking ending. So I'm gonna do a little bit something special. We'll turn the music off, right? And I'm gonna edit my own music over this. Alright? So let's see. Several months later. When the doorbell rang on Christmas morning, I glanced out the window from my new home. It's Christmas? It's Christmas now. It's December. It's Christmas. The sun was shining a little too brightly. Having an American Christmas in summer just didn't feel right, but since the global upheaval, all the seasons had basically switched. Wong had already opened the door for me, having arrived first this morning. It seemed appropriate that on the first Christmas since everything, we were all meeting up again. Almost immediately after the sun had returned, I went to Sol's house to find his incorporeal form once again. I was ashamed that I had run out on him like that. I should learn to treat the dead with more respect. Damn, is he just gonna stay there, bro? Bro, if he's gonna stay there, I would visit that motherfucker every day. I'll be like, bruh, what's good, Sol? What's good, Sol? I'm happy now. Even though Modi is fucking dead, and Etienne is dead, and I don't know where the fuck Sharon is, she better be here. I hope she is here with me right now. What the hell? This thing is squeaking. I'm gonna have to turn down my voice is what I'm gonna have to do. I was ashamed that I had run out on him like that. I should learn to treat the dead with more respect. In any case, I couldn't find him anywhere. He was gone. What? He was gone? He's gone now? Damn! The absolute next thing on the list was to find Crank's safety deposit box. It hadn't been hard. With the instructions he had left for me via Ghost Soul, I was able to head to the bank, say the right things, and bring the whole box back to my house with me. Inside were details on Crank's family. I was surprised to see how extensive it was. There were photos and letters and instructions on what to do with them in the event of his death. There were also bank accounts and passwords. The instructions detailed how much each family member was to receive per month, and when the money dried up, who should be cut off first. Okay. Oh man, I'll do that. I smiled, knowing that even after his funds were gone, I'd still find a way to take care of Crank's family. Yumi joined me in the kitchen, carrying a basket of fruit and cheeses. I smiled at the sight of the small boy. We'd become close friends since his guardian, Penny, had decided to settle in America, with Yumi's enthusiastic agreement. I put down the knife I was using to carve the chicken and hugged him tightly before taking the basket from his hands. Wow, did you help Penny put this together? I asked, putting it with the rest of the fruit. Where is Sharon? Is Sharon okay? We tried the fruits ourselves, he confided shyly. Oh. He was still very quiet for a boy his age, but we were confident he would come out of his shell when he was ready. Well, you did very well. It looks amazing. Yumi blushed happily and shuffled his feet, shyly looking out the window behind me. It wasn't until I was home that I'd realized the full extension of the damage done that at the last stand in Russia. Wong had been the one to show me. He was the last remaining Aelorite and had decided to join the Children of Gaia, who had welcomed him with open arms. Aside from uniting two of the oldest secret organizations in the world, Wong had also been flying all over the world and rallying governments to pull their collective communities together. We'd been in close contact. It was good for me to keep working, everyone had said. I'd gone through something traumatic to keep busy, and keeping busy was the best thing I could do. Except the whole world had gone through something traumatic, not just me. Wong understood that in his calm and collected way. He immediately worked on making sure it never happened again. Together, we were putting together a sort of press release, one that would survive the test of time. Everything that we had learned, why the sun went out and how to stop it, had to become common knowledge in case it ever happened again. It was vital. Where is Sharon? I confided in Wong about literally seeing Sol's ghosts and what we discussed. I was glad to hear something similar had happened to him. We were trying to figure out how to recreate the phenomenon. Why my freaking volume control keeps getting stuck on the desk. Wong theorized that all souls in the other plane were actually manifestations of the imprints created by a physical body resonance. So, when the body was gone, these imprints or souls lingered on the other plane like an echo. It was hard to wrap my head around it. Wong, or more specifically, his scientific mind was doing better than I was. However, the biggest challenge so far was explaining it to other people. A voice called to me from the living room, and I smiled down at Yumi. Come on, let's join everyone else. Please! The living room was already getting full, and I was glad my new house had a deck in the back. Yeah, we got a deck! But where the fuck is Sharon? Wong met my eyes across the room and nodded. We'd prepare a small speech for today, and he was ready when I was. I embraced Penny as she laughed at a joke from the Christmas cracker. What? You're laughing at Christmas cracker jokes? Despite having a few fans in the room, I was wiping sweat from my brow. Having Christmas in summer was really abnormal. I wish it would stop. I couldn't imagine the look on Sharon's face if she could see me now, sweating in my ugly Christmas sweater. I could imagine what she'd say though. Look at you, mate, she said with her lopsided smile. You know, you die in an Aussie heat wave. It's nothing like that, like here. I've had Christmases hotter than this since I was a young possum. Apparently the American opossum was something completely different to an Australian possum. She taught me that. Where is she? I felt the pain in my heart at the memory of her. Is she dead? The shuttle that Sharon had stepped into never returned to Earth. We searched for it in orbit, of course, but nothing returned. I lost everyone. I lost every single person. What the fuck? I lost everybody. I lost everyone I ever loved. Nothing had turned up. After a month, Sharon had been officially declared dead. We'd had a small funeral for her with Chrissy and her husband Matthias. It had been painful watching Chrissy crumble over Sharon's empty coffin. What the fuck? No! No! Dude! What the fuck? I'd taken her aside later and told her what her mother had meant to me and that I'd always be there if she needed anything. Bro, I glanced at the clock on the wall. If Sharon better fucking walk through that damn door so that we can uproot that fucking grave. Chrissy and her family should be here soon. I was looking forward to seeing her. I looked around, trying to figure out who I hadn't greeted yet. What? It won't let me head out. It's fade out, head out to the deck. Circle the lounge room. Head out to the deck. I can't head out to the deck. Circle the lounge room. Why can't I head out to the deck? Just as I was about to move, a pair of hands clapped on my shoulders. I turned around to see Dolores, already a bit red in the face from drinking. Oh shit. Okay, Dolores is still alive. Okay, there's one person I still love, still here. I hate Christmas, she announced without preamble. I raised an eyebrow. Why you come if you hate Christmas? I asked, bemused. Dolores hadn't stayed still long enough for me to talk to her since the sun came back. I wanted to see everyone, she admitted. Make sure it all real after all. I smiled, understanding. I sometimes felt the same. I thought Sharon was going to be there. How have you been since everything? I asked, genuinely curious. She shrugged. The company has ignored me and I've ignored the company, she muttered under her breath, for the most part at least. Dolores, what does that mean? I asked, almost immediately regretting the question. She gave me a sly look and didn't answer, disappearing into the crowd with the party. We'll talk. What about you? Chase appeared behind me, watching the crowd carefully. I hadn't even seen him come in. What about me? I asked, confused. How have you been, really? Just taking it a day at a time. He nodded and I eyed him carefully. He hadn't really been the same man I had met on that plane, confident and cocky. For a while I had thought that it was just me, that maybe he blamed me for Farrah's death. Then I'd seen him interact with Wong and I knew it wasn't just me. He looked like he was short a few good meals and many nights' sleep. Finally, I got up the nerve to ask, "Are you okay, I asked. He gave me a bland look. He hesitated, looking around to see if anyone was listening. "We can go to the kitchen if you like," I offered, and he nodded, following me. When we were alone, he shrugged. "I feel like I was just a kid, and now I'm not," he admitted, rubbing his face. "When Miss Farrer brought me on board to join your operation, I thought it was clever and unstoppable. But that's changed," I noted, and he nodded. "I think I was in love with Satin," he said, scratching his head, "and then she died." "Yeah, like her life was nothing," he exhaled slowly. "So many people died, but her death hit me the hardest." "Because you loved her," I empathized. He shook his head. "No, because she was so much like me," he stressed, "and she was snuffed out in a moment. Now I'm on edge, and I don't know if I want to live like that." "She probably wouldn't want you thinking like that." Chase said nothing and rubbed his arm distractedly. I waited, letting him think. "My advice, for what it's worth," I said finally, when it was clear that he wouldn't speak again. "You've got to live large. We've all been given this second chance to live our lives. Living is what I'm worried about," he muttered. "So stop worrying," he frowned, raising an eyebrow as if saying, "Easier than it sounds. You need to do something to get your heart beating and make you feel alive." I hesitated. It really wasn't any of my business, but in some way I understood how he felt. "And do something to remember Satin by," I said. "Think of it as a way to say goodbye to her." Chase stared at me like I'd grown several new heads. Without warning, he stood up straight and his hands fisted. "Okay," he said, not giving any indication of what that meant. Without explanation, he left the kitchen and strode quickly away. I shook my head and turned to follow him, but my gaze was caught by a photograph on the fridge. It was a picture of Etienne and me, taken from a security camera in the Cosmodrome. It was probably the only photograph I had of us. Wong had dug it up in his research and given it to me. The more I tried to remember what Etienne and I were laughing about in that picture, the more it seemed to slip from my grasp. Still, we looked happy. I felt a pain in my heart at the memory of him. Oh my god! The rocket launcher Etienne had used to destroy the tank that saved us, but it had cost Etienne his life. Oh man, everyone's dead, bro, I'm mad! We had a small funeral for him back in Flying Falls. Much of the town had turned up for it. I was moved seeing their affection for a man that I cared for. I had taken possession of his belongings on Amelia's urging. I'd known her son better than she had. I looked at the clock on the microwave. Amelia had promised to try and make it today, but I didn't know when. I was looking forward to seeing her, though. Wong called from the living room. "Everyone got a drink? It's time for a toast." Oh, God. Okay, join Wong. Alright. I hurried out of the kitchen and headed over to where Wong was. Everyone fell silent and turned to face Wong, the laughter dying down. "Well, it's not my party, but the host gave me free rein to make a toast," he started, raising a glass. "You can find the culprit later and administer a beat-down promise." There was a rumble of laughter and Wong smiled. "First of all, Merry Christmas. It's great to see so many faces around the room that got us here, that kept the sun shining and the earth spinning, literally." I couldn't help myself glancing out the window to see the sun for myself once more. Whenever I woke up in the middle of the night, I panicked until I saw the time. "It was a tough time, but we made it through alive," Wong said. Then his face became serious. "However, there were too many of us who didn't make it." Wong looked at me and I nodded. The others watched as I moved over to a pre-prepared table and picked up the lighter. As I touched each candle, I said a name. "Professor Soul." Oh my god, we're gonna go through the whole name of people who died. "Miss Farrer." I lit the candle. "Petrus." I lit the candle. Oh god, we're going through everyone. "Vadik." I lit the candle. Oh no. "Satin." How many is that so far? Like 4 or 5 people. I lit the candle. "Crank," also known as Gilbert. I lit the candle. Fucking hell. And Sharon. I lit the candle. And Etienne. Oh my god, I lit the candle. Bro! I noticed Amela had slipped inside as we lit the candles and gave her a tiny nod of acknowledgement. And on it went. Wong and I had tried our damnedest to remember everyone that we had extra candles just in case. I hesitated over the last candle and took a deep breath. "Bodhi," I said, my voice cracking. "Oh god." I lit the candle. We can't forget the sacrifices that have come before, Wong continued. We lived for them, and now it's on us to remember not just our losses, but also why they happened. Wong started talking about the work that we've been doing and the press release we had put together. Ugh! It became too much for me. I yearned to step out onto the deck and get some air. Stay put. You're gonna have to stay put, bruh. I persevered, watching Wong's confident and funny speech. I felt once more relieved that Wong had agreed to stand up and do this. I had had enough of being in the spotlight. He finished with a flourish, accepting a round of applause. As everyone moved to talk to Wong and each other, I quietly stepped outside, leaning against the wall, out of sight. It was noon, and the unusual heat beating against my face reminded me again and again that we made it. We were safe. It always took me a moment to remember that every morning that I didn't have somewhere to be or any mystery to unravel. But still, there was a weight on my shoulders that I couldn't shift. What choices could I have made differently to save more people? Who had died in vain? The choices had come down to me in the end, and I had to bear that responsibility for the rest of my life. A little hand took my wrist, and I looked down into Yumi's giant childish eyes. I squatted down next to him and smiled. "What's up, little buddy?" I asked, trying to smile. He pressed the emoticon he had received as a gift some time ago in my palms and closed my fingers over it. "I want you to have this," Yumi said softly, a wisdom in his eyes that countered his young age. "No, this is yours, Yumi," I laughed softly. "You have it." "I don't need it to talk to Modi anymore," he said, a simple and kind smile on his face, "but I think you do." I was too stunned to say anything before Yumi walked back indoors. Looking down, I just stared at the emoticon in my hands. A round of laughter shook me out of my stupor, and I stood to rejoin the party. Keep the gift. The rest of the party went well. Later that night, I collapsed into my bed and my head fuzzy from the drinks and conversations. I laughed to myself happily. A terrible thing had happened, but most of my friends were still here and alive and well. We spent much of the night sharing anecdotes of our lost companions. My head swam from one story to the next as I lay fully clothed on my bed. I only bothered to take off my shoes. The rest could wait. Stars danced above me as I fell easily into sleep. I stepped out of Soul's house and into the park next to it, trying to find something. I knew it was here. I just had to get to it. Sharon and Tina were just beyond the hedges, splashing in a water fountain. For a moment I was worried. Were they in danger? Was anybody in danger right now? What the fuck is happening? Is this a dream? But they were laughing and playing some strange game of patty cake, and I shrugged. Sat and floated past the tree ahead of me. "Okay, it's everyone who's dead. Come on, you're going to miss it," she called, her voice echoing strangely. With a burst of energy, I surged forward through another door. It led to a garden maze, winding around and around again. I knew that if I could find the center, I'd find what I was looking for. But I had to be fast. Someone was chasing me. Dagger. Dagger was laughing at me as I tried to get to the center of the maze. I panicked, running faster. I was going in circles, and then I heard a voice. "Teacher." "Modi, help me find you, bruh. That's gotta be Modi, bruh." Nobody answered my cries, and I ran deeper and deeper in the maze until suddenly a large door made from the ocean hovered in front of me. If I was able to pass through it, I'd be safe. But Santiago loomed between me and the door, and I was afraid. "Teacher, it's alright." Hope bloomed in my chest, and I squared my shoulders. "I'm not afraid of you," I thought, definitely, staring at Victor directly in his eyes, and just like that, he vanished, and I was able to step through the ocean door. I felt like I was floating on an ocean, but I wasn't wet, and there were no fishes, just dancing lights. They flickered across me, and I chuckled. It felt ticklish. A child strode up to me and played with the lights too. Who the fuck is that? I couldn't tell if the child was a boy or a girl, but they were about Yumi's age, and there was something so familiar about them. Together we leapt and captured the lights, holding them to our hearts and singing with joy. One by one, the lights went out, and I sighed, sad that my time here was ending. I turned to thank the child, but they were already walking away. "Wait," I called, stretching out my hands to the child. "I don't want it to end." It never has the end, teacher, the child called back in a musical tone. I'm so happy here. What the fuck? Is that Modi in a human body? Modi? My bedroom was dark and my covers had fallen off my bed while I slept. My arm was outstretched into the air above me and I frowned. What the hell was that? The dream had felt so real I could practically still see the dancing lights of happy souls surrounding me. As I dropped my hand, I looked again at the watch on my wrist. I never took it off, not even to charge it. After all, it didn't need electricity anymore. Modi's happy, laughing face was burned into the screen. You and 16% of players saved the Earth, and now work with Wong to make sure Modi's story is never forgotten. You may not have found romance, but you're not alone. What? I guess this is the no romance ending then. Okay, I guess this isn't the ending for romance. The end. Alright guys. Okay, I'm gonna do 3 playthroughs then. That's just how it's gonna work now. Okay. This is the no romance playthrough. Alright then. Even though I was trying to get romance. So I guess the next playthrough I'll either choose to do Sharon or Etienne. Alright, so I'll see you guys whenever I begin that. Bye.